everyone, and welcome to the Human Pulse podcast, where we talk about living well with technology. I'm Fabrice Newman.
And I'm Ann Traeger.
We are recording this on December 22nd, 2024.
Human Pulse is never longer than 30 minutes, so let's get started. So today, Fabrice, I wanted to talk about sleep because, first of all, it is the number one performance enhancer that exists and allows us to live well with or without technology. Okay, let's just be clear about that. And also, I have a surprise for listeners who stayed till the end.
Okay, so let's make sure that they listen until the end. You do yourself know a thing or two about that, right, Anne? Because unfortunately, you had to go through this kind of bad nights for several years. But also, you were able to change the quality of your sleep through different methods. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a whole lot about tossing and turning and longing for sleep at night and roaming the house and waking up tired. Literally, I really messed up my sleep at one point. And it took me several years to get it back. And I fixed it. Now I sleep an average of 7 hours and 20 minutes a night, although it's dropped in this past year. So I'm working on bringing it back up with 12% more or less deep sleep, which is fantastic for me at my age and what I've gone through with my sleep, and about 18% REM sleep, which is also fantastic. And I know all of this because of my tech. So when it comes to tech, because our topic is living well with technology, when it comes to tech and sleep, there are basically two key categories of tech to look at. The tech that will track your sleep, and you have all different kinds of form factors for that, and we'll go into some details later, but you have rings and wristbands and bed covers and some non-touch monitors out there. So tracking sleep is one thing, and then the second kind of tech sets out to improve your sleep in one way or another, and I'll talk a little bit more about that again later on.
Yeah, I think we can dive into that directly because I think you almost tried them all, right?
Well, not really, actually. So first of all, it began, and this is actually a little bit your fault,
All right.
because for Christmas in 2018, you gave in to my request. I had, asked Santa for an Oura Ring. What is an Oura Ring? This is the Oura Ring.
Yeah.
Okay?
So let's make something clear. So it was upon your request, so it's not exactly totally my fault, right?
Yeah. Details. Okay. Okay.
And
so,
for those who don't have the image, so you have to describe what you are.
Yeah, so the Oura Ring is a smart ring with tiny sensors that track all kinds of data from your sleep. And then in the morning, it will give you the data and it will tell you something about what they call readiness and give you some suggestions about, what you should be doing today and how much activity. And, sometimes if you're really low on the readiness score, it's going to tell you, hey, maybe you should rest and relax. And other times it will tell you, whoa, go, So this is the second Oura Ring. So because 2018 was a long time ago and they upgraded in between and so on and so forth. So at the time, it was really sharp and I longed for it. And I'm a biohacker, so it was really important for me because for biohackers, having an Oura Ring was and still is a little bit of a sign of recognition. And I remember having to wait, I got it for Christmas, but I had to wait until February for it to arrive. And I literally dreamed about it improving my sleep immeasurably. Sorry for the pun. Couldn't resist, right?
Okay. Would you say that being able to dream about it already helped you sleep at that point?
But potentially, yeah. It might, maybe that's all that I need. And we all know that the placebo effect is huge, right? But anyway, so I started in 2018, and the Oura Ring was not very well known at the time. And I remember in 2021. I stumbled upon this article in the New Yorker that actually mentioned the Oura Ring. And I thought, wow, okay, it's come out into the light. Okay, this says something about me and my reading habits and so on and so forth. But anyway, that the Oura Ring had made it into the New Yorker was something of a big deal for me. What I found right from the beginning is that it made tracking really easy and fun. And I will talk a little bit later on about why tracking is important. But anyway, let's talk about what happened to me when I got this Oura Ring. It got me really focused on how the various tips and tricks that I was trying and applying to my sleep, how they really changed things. And potentially I got a little too focused on it. I remember my teenage daughter telling me she would tease me every morning and occasionally suggest that I answer the "how did you sleep" question before I looked at the ring. Okay? I mean, the ring data. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and how right she was. I mean, this is a real thing. Sometimes we can get a little obsessed about the data and not so much about what it's allowing us to do. And I've been through different phases about being obsessed with my data. First, it was deep sleep, and at other times it was my heart rate variability. And right now it's my resting heart rate, my lowest resting heart rate at night. So, there are times, and then, obsession is perhaps a big word for what's happening, is that it allows me to focus my attention in on one thing that I like to be shifting, okay, in a direction. You don't need a ring to track your sleep. First of all, you can just track it on your subjective feeling of how well you slept. Sleep specialists have been doing that for ages. There are different questions you can ask yourself that are used regularly, and that can really help you, because ultimately it's about how you feel it when you wake up. That's important. You can track your sleep with your smartphone using apps such as Sleep Space or Sleep Cycle. These will track your sleep based on the noises you make and the movements you make. They will also help you wake up at just the right time in your sleep cycle. You can also use performance trackers like the Whoop, or you can use a smartwatch, which admittedly gives you the most bang for your buck because you also get all those watch functions with it, okay? Which the Oura Ring only tracks your sleep and your activity. So, those are some of the options that are out there for tracking your sleep. Fabrice, I believe you use your watch, right?
I do. Sometimes, probably not as much as you do with your Oura Ring. But the thing is, it's a bit less comfortable to wear while you sleep. Obviously, some people already do sleep with their watches, whether they're smart watches or not. But it's not as comfortable. So I'm using an Apple Watch as I show here to the camera. It got more comfortable with the Apple Watch Series 10 because it is a little bit thinner, so it's more comfortable. Still, there's another thing when you talk about the Apple Watch is the battery management. Apple didn't make a lot of progress in that area, so basically you do have to charge it every day. It's pretty good at telling you that it needs to be charged before you go to sleep, but you do have to find 20 minutes, 30 minutes to charge it and then wear it again. So it's not as good. Anyway.
The Oura Ring lasts several days, mine a little bit less now that it's getting a little older. And this charging thing is so important. I mean, there will times I will put the ring to charge because you have to charge it from time, and then totally forget about it. And maybe 2 days later say, oh, wait, where's my ring? Why don't I have my data?
Well, it speaks to the fact that the ring can be forgotten whether you wear it or not.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So the watch is not very good in that area.
And for me, the ring is much more comfortable. I tried with a watch at one point, and I can't even wear the watch during the day. I find it uncomfortable. So
yeah, so that's something else. Because so you're really not a good candidate for the watch. That's for sure. The thing is, with the Apple Watch Series 10, when I got it, I was pretty good at wearing it for a 30-day period because I wanted to try the sleep apnea detection feature, which came with the watchOS 11, and that you can use on the Apple Watch Series 10 or Series 9. And for that, for it to work, you need to really wear it for 30 days. It doesn't have to be 30 days in a row, but the feature needs 30-day 30 days worth of data. So I did that. Thankfully, I didn't get any alert notification saying that I might have sleep apnea. Okay. I was happy about that. But then it gave me more details about my sleep. It detects the heart rate, the lowest and the highest during the night. What I like with that is, first of all, you don't need to look at your data all the time to know whether you slept okay or not. But having data on a longer period of time is good to detect what can impede on your sleep or make your sleep better. Obviously, you can right away see some differences in your sleep quality when you had alcohol for dinner or not, if you had a late dinner or not, stuff like that. You can see the influence on all those things. I would also, and this is something the Ring doesn't do, the watch or watch equivalent is a very good wake up system. Because when it monitors your sleep, it obviously monitors your sleep cycles. And so you can ask it to wake you up at the end of a cycle instead of potentially in the middle of one when you just choose a specific time to be woken up. And so with a watch like this, you can still tell it to wake you up at 6:30 in the morning, like at the latest, but it will keep a window, a 30-minute window between 6 and 6:30 to wake you up at the best possible time compared to you based on your sleep cycles. And I think that's very nice. And it can wake you up with just a tap on the wrist, with no sound, which I prefer as well. I think it's less intrusive, softer, and I like that. And I think it's very efficient for that.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things. I think that wake up at the right time can be really helpful for a lot of people. I regulated my sleep to such an extent now that I don't need an alarm anymore. So I don't, this isn't an issue for me, but I do still remember that alarm ringing in the middle of the cycle and you're glued to the bed. You feel like gravity has been, doubled or something like that. And you can't move. And that's generally a sign of it being really, really the wrong time in your sleep cycle to be waking up. You also mentioned sleep apnea, and I think that's a fantastic feature for the Apple Watch. I know there's some data on the newer systems of the Oura as well that allow you to detect that, because if you have sleep apnea, it is significantly serious of an issue to go see a sleep doctor and get it fixed, because it will just mess your entire health up and shorten your lifespan. So let's mention it. If you have sleep apnea, do something about it. Okay.
And let me be clear about that. So if the watch detects sleep apnea, it will just tell you, you might have sleep apnea. Please go see a doctor. It's always very important to remind people that these kind of tools are not medical tools.
Exactly.
They can help you detect a problem or not. And when you think you have something, then go see a specialist. It's so important not to, quote unquote, self-medicate at least too much. If there's a problem, many times you need to see a specialist.
So in speaking of what these tools are good for, they're tracking tools. The ones that we're talking about right now are tracking tools. And I'd like to really talk about this tracking. Okay. Tracking can help us tune into our own personal feedback system. Okay. Because ultimately, we all know when we've had a bad night's sleep. We don't need a ring to say you've had a bad night's sleep. What it does, however, is it brings our attention to it, okay, in sometimes a fun way and mostly in a regular way, and with some data that we can actually use. It allows us to see where our baseline is. It allows us to, if we're experimenting with things, to see if those experiments are actually having an impact. This is what's interesting about the tracking. It allows us to fine tune and to adapt. Observing and recording can help us really to contribute to change. Okay. There's something which is called the Pearson's Law, which is attributed to a mathematician named Carl Pearson. And he says that which is measured improves, that which is measured and reported improves exponentially. Okay? So it's the idea that when you know your numbers, you can look at the results, and it does have an impact, and you're going to be able to then course correct and make a change. And tracking also brings your sustained attention to a specific topic, in this case, sleep. How much of us just fight through it and all of that? But if you have a ring or a watch that is telling you with a little thing, in the morning, say, hey, whoa, watch out, then you're going to actually pay a little bit of attention. And we all know that our attention is very precious right now because it is pulled in every direction. So tracking your sleep can shift your unconscious, shift things from an unconscious habit zone into a focus zone. And this, in my opinion, is benefit number one. Also, it allows you to see patterns, okay, to identify areas where there are improvements or problems. For example, I noticed that my resting heart rate was shooting up. And so now I'm working on bringing it down. Okay. It's important, I believe, when using tracking also to filter the information based on whatever it is you're trying to do. I mean, if we try to do too much at once, in any case, we can't do it.
Well, that talks about, the scientific method. If you want to be efficient, you need to change one thing at a time, because as soon as you change two or more things, then you don't know what works.
So you're right. Yes. And I totally believe in throwing everything at whatever the problem is, because there are 17 different things you can try for your sleep. And maybe it's going to be a combination of different things that's actually going to work. So I'm of two minds about that. I don't have a very scientific approach. I have a kitchen sink approach. I just throw it all in there and track the change. Okay. But anyway, so again, that's just me. Okay. And I don't really have a problem with that. I do think, however, it's interesting to ask why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you tracking what you're tracking?
True. So we talked a lot about tracking. You mentioned at the beginning that there are also like technologies or techniques that can actually help create a better environment for sleep. So why don't we talk a bit about that?
Well, so yeah, there are other kinds of technologies out there that are used specifically in the sleep improvement area. And the most prevalent are related to, first of all, temperature regulation, because temperature regulation actually really has an impact on our sleep. Just recently, our heating went out, and so it was really cold at night, and I was sleeping better. I actually saw an improvement on my sleep score. Okay, so now I have to kind of find the comfort zone. But anyway, there is tech out there. Like your heater doesn't have to stop working for you to actually experiment with this. Okay. But so the thing is that basically we sleep better, or we go to sleep quicker and have deeper sleep when at the beginning of the night it's cold. And then later on in the night, when we're doing more dreaming, we actually dream better, when it's a little bit warmer. And actually your body regulates that temperature all by itself, because our body has extraordinary inner technology. Thank you very much. There are tools that can help you do this. And right now, the big player in this particular field is a brand which is called 8, like the number, Sleep. And it's very expensive. And it's like this mattress solution that will do all the tracking and will make all of these micro variations in temperature based on where you are in your sleep cycle and so on and so forth. People rave about it. And on their website, they claim that you can, get as much as an hour more sleep every night in the same period of time. I'm assuming in the same period of time. So it's quite the technology if you want to invest in something like this. So I've done some much simpler and less expensive tech to adjust the temperature of the bed in which I sleep. In summer, when it got to be really, 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 really hot here and I was having trouble sleeping, I just took some of those ice blocks that you put in the freezer to put in a cooler, when you're going someplace. Well, I just had a bunch of them, and I'd take a couple out and I'd put them in my bed and I'd sleep with them, Another area where you get a lot of tech is light related, because light is also very important to your sleep. So some of the tech that comes in is in the form of these lamps that they're called sunrise lamps that will bring in just the right amount of light to mimic the rising sun in your room to wake you up in the morning. And you also, where tech comes into play here is that we are animals that are regulated by the light. that we get in our eyes. Okay. So waking up in the morning and actually going outside where you get full spectrum light, it doesn't have to be sunny. It can be rainy and cloudy and dark, and you still get more light in your eyes than you ever would inside a window, because windows will filter it. So the idea is to go outside and get full spectrum light in your eyes as early as possible in the morning, as close to sunrise as possible. And this will regulate your circadian rhythm, which will in turn help you sleep better the following night. Okay, which is extraordinary. Okay.
In other words, get out, people.
Yeah, get outside. So that's the first aspect of light to really keep in mind, and that's related to the amount of red light that the sun's, the proportion of red light and the angle at which it is at, and so on and so forth. The second big area to pay attention to when it comes to light is blue light. We have certainly all heard that the blue light in your telephones is really bad for your sleep. Okay, so what happens is that we need a certain amount of blue light during the day. Blue light will keep us awake and all of that. And then towards the end of the day, our bodies, when we evolved, we evolved for the sun to go down and then for us to go to sleep because it's dark. So, and when the sun's going down, there's more red light, there's less blue light, and all of this allows the body to produce melatonin, which then allows you to sleep. Okay, obviously I'm simplifying the process, but basically you want less blue light at night so that you can actually go to sleep. And with the telephone has an unnaturally high amount of blue light coming at you all the time, as do other screens, which means that it messes up your melatonin system if you are on a screen past sundown. Okay, that's the simplified version. So the idea is to have, people will say, less screen time after the sun goes down. How hard is that? It's really, really hard in this day and age. So there are solutions, which is
more so in winter because the sun goes down very early in the day.
Exactly. So this is an impossible ask, right?
So before you go showing what you're going to show, because I think it's really important, and people, I think you should go see the video for that. Just to make sure and to explain that to people, you're not a big proponent of blue blocking glasses, lenses during the day, actually.
Okay, so it depends on how much time. So I'm not an eye specialist, so this just comes from me. Okay, I just want to put that out there, so people don't think that I'm giving some kind of medical advice or anything like that. We need blue light during the day. So if you spend all day on a screen, it is potentially helpful to have blue light blocking glasses. Although some people say they don't really help at all. I don't know. So I'm just like, as long as I regulate it based on the times of day, I'm happy. I wake up in the morning, I go outside, I get my, half an hour outside in the morning to regulate my sun intake, to regulate my circadian rhythm. And then I go outside regularly to get full spectrum light because I know that's what we need. I do not use blue light blocking glasses on the screen, although some people do, and they find that it makes them feel less tired. So I say do an experiment. I'm a biohacker, do an experiment. So what I do at night, however, is I put on these serious blue light blocking glasses. Okay. The ones that I have put them on for those of you who are not watching this on the video. They look very red, and when you look through them, it looks very red, and they're designed to block blues and greens they're specifically designed to help you sleep at night. So I put these on for anything that I do on a screen before I go to sleep.
So they look like sunglasses. They enveloping like rounded around your head, so they really block all the light that would come through from the sides. And we'll put a link to this specific brand of glasses in the show notes, so you can check them out.
So there are other brands. Now, when I was having trouble with my sleeping, I wore them from sundown on for all light exposure. I don't need to do that anymore. It doesn't have the same. My system is pretty regulated now. However, because we are sensitive to light, it's important to keep in mind that it's not just the screens that have a lot of light. So if you go into the bathroom to brush your teeth and you flip on that bright white light, it's just telling your body, oh, it's noon, let's wake up. So, lower the lights at night. It will help you sleep. So here's my take on the tech. Okay, first of all, if you're not doing all the lifestyle stuff first, the tech isn't going to really help. So it's not going to take away the need. And I wish that this were true, but it's not going to take away the need from actually going to sleep on time, okay? On your time and, doing what you have to do to get your body functioning in the right way. Now, sometimes I believe the tech can be really helpful to get you back on track. If you're really off track, I'm sure some of this tech would have made it quicker for me to get back on track with my sleep. But for me, the goal is not to be dependent upon tech, but rather to use it to use it to improve for the short term. I mean, to get me back on track so that I don't need it, so that I can sleep whenever and wherever I want to sleep. My brother used to sleep on the floor and he loves to sleep on the floor. Our daughter used to sleep on the floor and loved to sleep on the floor. I can't. I'm too sensitive a sleeper. I would love to be able to sleep anywhere on the floor or wherever and to sleep deeply wherever without the need of some special mattress or some special this or that or a special light. So anyway, I'd rather manage my lifestyle and my stress in such a way to naturally sleep better. That's my take.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even if you have the budget for all the tech and toys and, bells and whistles, you have to think first about how bothersome it would be to carry all your tech when you go someplace. If you like to go camping or you travel, whatever, it can be very bothersome. Some people, we have friends who, unfortunately for them, have sleep apnea and they need to carry a machine wherever they go. And we know what a pain it is. I mean, it's like another piece of luggage you have to carry with you. So tech can help. A ring, a watch is easy to carry and you have it with you anyway. Depending on something else, if you can avoid that would be better, I would say.
Well, and honestly, I think that I'd rather spend that budget on something else. But that's me, okay?
Yeah,
I mean, even me, and I'm obsessed with this kind of stuff, okay? Yeah. I love this stuff, but the prices are pretty high on some of this tech. So
absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to share my gift to everybody. I mentioned briefly that I have spent that I did spend a number of years not sleeping. Fabrice remembers, right?
I do. I have to admit that it was equally sad and annoying. Annoying sometimes because you could be cranky at times. Also sad because I could feel your pain. So,
Well, so I fixed my sleep. And I found what I call sleep homeostasis, which means it's pretty much the same all the time, no matter what I do. I sleep well every night. I wake up without an alarm clock every morning, and I feel recharged every morning. It's amazing. This has changed my life significantly. And I did it more through lifestyle than through any tech. By the time I got my Oura Ring, I was kind of disappointed because I was sleeping really well. I'm not disappointed that I was sleeping well, but that it wasn't changing very much on my Oura Ring because I had already found that homeostasis, which is very cool. So I put everything that I learned from going through that process of reclaiming my sleep into a 3-step course that I am giving away to people free of charge. And I'm doing that because when we sleep better, we feel better. And I believe that makes us better people. You can find it at potentialize.me/sleep. We will put that link in the show notes.
That's potentialize.me/sleep. Okay, that's it for episode 8. Thank you, Anne. Thanks for listening. You can find all the links mentioned in this episode in the show notes directly in your podcast app. And don't forget to go to our website, humanpulsepodcast.com, to find more information in all of our previous episodes and also to send us feedback. That's humanpulsepodcast.com.
Thank you for subscribing, sharing, and please do leave us a review that helps other people to find this podcast. And we will talk to you in 2 weeks.
Bye, everyone.